Hi there, my name is Solomon David and welcome to my YouTube channel where I teach you how to play the violin in 15 easy lessons. What you can expect in this course is the basic fundamentals of violin playing. You'll learn how to analyze music and play sheet music on the violin. What you'll need is a violin and a bow, so do get prepped for your very first lesson. Do like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. Hi there and welcome back to another lesson on how to play the violin in 15 easy lessons. As we're closing in to the end of this course, we will be covering for chapter 14 today, rhythms and rests. We do have a couple new time values that we'll learn, and this will be the last theoretical chapter for this entire course. So let's get started. Great, so previously we did in our first few chapters, we covered some theoretical time values, which were the crotchet and the minim and the semi-brief. So we do know that out of these three, we have different time values. Crotchet being 1 beat, minim being 2 beats, and the semi-brief being 4 beats. So today's lesson, I'll be introducing 3 more time values. The first one will be the quaver, which I'm going to put right there. So the quaver kind of looks like a crotchet, but it has this little tail. So how many beats does a quaver have? It only has half a beat. Great. So this is going to be one of the faster notes that you're going to be playing if you were to play any fast pieces as a beginner. Yeah? The next one we'll be learning is a dotted rhythm. This dotted time name is known as the dotted crotchet. So this would succumb to later on, we'll learn how to count all these dotted rhythms. So the next one is the dotted crotchet, and I'm going to put it right there. Okay, so as the name goes, dotted crotchet, meaning that a crotchet has 1 beat. So how much time does the dot represent? Well, it represents half of the note it's next to. So since it's next to a crotchet, half of 1 is going to be half. And you're going to have to add that value back to the time name itself. So the time value will be 1 plus half, which will give you 1.5. So a dotted crotchet is going to give you 1.5 beats. I know this may be a little tricky right now to understand, but I'll show you how you can count these beats at a later part. Okay, so we've got one more. The time value will be a dotted minim, which I'm going to put right here. So again, this looks very much just like a regular minim, but with a dot. Okay, so this time the value changes from 1 to 2. A minim has 2 beats, and the dot next to it represents half of that value. So it's going to be 1. So the original value of 2 plus 1 would give you a total of 3 beats. Okay, let's recap that one more time. So a quaver is going to give you half a beat. A dotted crotchet is going to give you 1.5. And a dotted minim will give you 3 beats. Okay, so of course, when you see these notes on a stave, they might appear a little different. So for quavers, usually you can have them single, or you can have doubles, or you could even have 4 of them grouped together. So I'm going to cover very briefly what we call grouped notes. So for quavers, if you were to put it alone, it's going to look like that. Yeah, so if you see it on the stave, this just means it's half. Okay, however, we can combine multiple quavers to give you whole beats. So for example, 2 halves would give you a whole. But are you supposed to write them both individually like that? The answer is no. you're going to do what we call beaming. So beaming basically means you're going to connect both quavers with a beam, and it's going to look like this. So you might see this on the stave. Do not be confused. This is actually just two quavers, and they make a full beat. So a full crotchet beat, you have to play both of these notes if you're counting in crotchets. Okay, so of course you can have more than two. Like I said, you can also have four quavers grouped together, and it will look like that. Great. So I think I will not go into the detail on how many quavers, but the maximum number of quavers you can group together is 6. But then it does depend based on the time signature. I don't want to confuse you right now, so just remember that the cap is at 6, and you can do 4s, you can even do 2s. Yep. You're not going to do any music writing for now, so let's just stay with that basic knowledge. Okay, so now I have my violin out because I'm going to show you a little bit on how these rhythms work. So the first one we'll start with is a quaver. So again, like I said, in a bar, you can have varying beats and you can also have just quavers. So the easy one would be if it was just quavers. So let's say this is 2/4 and we're going to play 4 quavers. How would you count them? So normally if you count in crotchets, your beats would be 1, 2, 1, 2, right? But because you have 4 notes now, you're going to have to make sure that you cover all 4 half beats in that bar. So I like to substitute the beats by calling it N. So the beats will be broken into 1 and 2 N. And then you will cover all 4 quaver beats. So it would sound like this. 1, 2. 1 and 2 and. One more time. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and that's just simply how you count 4 quavers if you were to be counting in crotchets. Okay, let's see another one. So this one would be a combination of a dotted crotchet and a quaver. So again, we'll be using 2/4. So you would see that 1.5 plus half would give you 2 full beats. But how are you going to count this beat? Okay, so again with the same technique of using N, the first crotchet, or rather the first dotted crotchet beat is going to be 1, 2. The reason being because the dot is actually part of the second beat, yeah? And it starts off the second beat, while the quaver finishes that second beat. So it'll be 1, 2, and, yeah? 1, 2, and for the quaver. So let's see how we count this out again, but with 2/4. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, and. See that? One more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, and. So notice how I draw a longer beat for the first dotted crotchet and a really short amount of bow for the quaver half. Okay, so for the last one, dotted minim, is actually pretty simple. All you have to do is play it for a full 3 beats. So it will just be a simple 1, 2, 3, and off. So if you remember the time signatures that we learned in our previous lessons, we'd only used 3/4 or 4/4, yeah, for the dotted minim. It's not going to work for 2/4 because you're going to exceed the amount of beats that you can use in a bar. Okay, lastly, we're going to look at rests. So rests are really important because most of the time when you play a piece, you're going to see rests. Rests are essentially just the parts where you're not going to play. So the notes will depict when you play, and the rests will tell you when you're not supposed to play. And as straightforward as the time values, you're going to have the same kind of rest. So if you have a crotchet note, you will also have a crotchet rest. Okay, I'm just put it right here so you can see an examples of how they look. I'm just going to cover 3 simple ones today in today's lesson. So a crotchet note would have a crotchet rest, so just right there. And then the second one would be a minim. So the minim note would also have a rest, which is the minim rest. So it kind of looks like a magician's hat, right? Cool. All right, so the last one would be, of course, the semi-brief rest. So it's just going to be an inverted minim rest, or rather, you can turn it around this way. So semi-brief rest, similar to the semi-brief note, is going to have 4 beats. So you're going to have to stop playing for 4 whole beats. Okay, the reason for this normally is because the violin, although being a solo instrument, is usually accompanied by an orchestra or even a piano or an ensemble. So when you're not playing, it means the accompanying or accompaniment is actually playing the music. Yeah, so you're gonna have be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you start playing again. Yeah, if it's a semi-brief rest. Okay, so do check out my book where I have contained in the chapter different rhythms for you to try out. You can try it with open A strings or open E strings, or even clapping the rhythms out. Okay, a simple one I'm going to show you right over here is a simple rhythm exercise. I'm going to put my violin right down for just quick second. Okay, so we're going to do a 4/4 rhythm exercise. So how we're going to count this as we look at it is 4 crotchet beats per bar, and we have a total of 2 bars, right? The first bar has 4 quavers and a minim. That adds up to 4. The next bar has a crotchet rest followed by a dotted crotchet and a quaver. So the beats would be 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Next bar, rest, which would be the first beat, 1, and then the dotted crotchet would be 2, 3, and, which would be the quaver, like we did before. So how would you play it? I'm going to use the open A to do this simple exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, rest. 2, 3, and. Let's try that together one more time. You can try playing it out or clapping it even if you find it difficult to coordinate. Here we go. One more time at a slower speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and. There we go. So I do have more exercises that you can try out and write out the beats even in my book. So do check that out. And with that, we have come to the end of our 14th lesson. Next lesson, our chapter 15, we will be covering sight reading just before I leave you off with some simple songs to practice. So I hope you've been enjoying it so far. And I do hope that you can like and subscribe to my channel. If you can stay tuned to more content like this, I might create a second course. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.